Andrew Friedman is with us now, and he gets mean things said to him. This guy gets a lot of applause and gets blamed for ruining baseball. I've admired him because he was a pioneer with the Rays, and the Rays were smarter than everyone else for a long time, and then the Dodgers said, let's do what they do, but with more money than everyone else. And so Andrew Friedman is on top of the sport, and it's really random, and it's hard to be great even with all the money, and he's got 9 division titles, 5 pennants, 3 World Series in 6 seasons. Thank you for joining us, Andrew. If I told you that that's what it was going to be, would it have exceeded your expectations when you started? If I told you it was going to be, given how hard baseball is, if I told you when you started, what's the best you're going to do? What's the answer to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. First, thanks for having me on. But yeah, I mean, going into the job with the Dodgers, on one hand, I was excited about kind of throwing myself in the deep end and having to think about things totally different. I didn't even know what the CBT tax and how that worked. And so it was kind of retraining my brain in a lot of ways. Yeah, I would say that this exceeded. I didn't necessarily sit down and say, okay, it's going to be X number of divisions and World Series. Obviously, the goal was to win a World Series every year. But yeah, it is hard, and you need to have really talented teams and some good fortune as well.
Can you explain to me how groundbreaking, pioneering, and difficult it was to get the Shohei Ohtani contract to be what it was so that you can pay him so little on the front end?
Yeah, I mean, I've said this a lot. I wouldn't have had the guts to propose the contract that we ended up doing with him. Obviously we had made an offer, we had talked about some things, and we had an idea of kind of where we wanted to go. And as it turned out, Nes Bolello, Shohei's agent, put together this kind of deal and took it to the 3 or 4 teams that Shohei was most interested in and wanted to know who would do it. And in the process of that call, it's like, deal, done, we're in. He's like, whoa, 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 settle down. This isn't him making a decision yet. Just trying to get a feel for who's in. And yeah, I mean, obviously, the impact he has for our team in the clubhouse, on the field, and then also what he has helped provide for our organization in terms of increased resources. All of that, I think, even with the highest of expectations, in a lot of ways has exceeded that as well.
Can you give me the top 3 guys, bottom to top, that you were most surprised to get? Like that you surprised yourself and got super excited, beyond excited, because 3, 2, 1, we were able to get this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Shohei, even going back to 2017, when he was still playing in the MPB and coming over to the States, we spent a ton of time on it. We didn't have the DH at the time, but we did everything we could to try to recruit him and sell him on the city of Los Angeles. In fact, hundreds of hours were spent on that. And when the announcement came that he was going to the Angels, my brother sent me a text and said, hey, great job selling him on Los Angeles. So it had been, front of mind for us for a long time. And so that's clearly number one. With Freddie, he was someone going into that winter that was at the top of our list, but we just thought the odds of getting him to leave Atlanta were extremely remote. So had very low expectations until that day where the Braves traded for Matt Olson. And that's when we were like, okay, we have a shot. So I would say throughout 98% of that process, we thought we had no chance. And then when that happened, we felt like we had a pretty good chance. There's a number of guys that, we talked about it this offseason. Kyle Tucker coming to us on a shorter term deal. We've seen guys take shorter term deals with higher AAVs, but not when they have a big long term contract as an alternative. We haven't seen somebody, I don't think, turn down a massive long term contract to sign a shorter, more aggressive deal. And so I think throughout that process, we didn't think the odds were very high just because we felt confident he had, a big $300+ million contract, and odds were he was going to take it. So I think until the end, we thought the odds were pretty low.
Andrew, when you hear the narrative spoken or written that the Dodgers' astronomical spending is, quote, bad for baseball. What do you say?
I mean, I guess a couple things. One is we are an incredibly healthy organization right now. We are doing really, really well off the field. And, it was 12 years ago, 13 years ago that this organization was in bankruptcy. And so, as an organization, we are in a very, very healthy spot. And we feel in a real connection and partnership to our fans. And that commitment to pouring it back in and doing everything we can to win a championship and bring a parade through the streets of Los Angeles. And so it is that partnership that we have with our fans that is a real driving force. And I just like the counterfactual to what, or the counterpoint to us having an aggressive payroll is the people who are upset by it just want our owner to pocket more money. Like, I don't understand the other side of it. We are investing in our team in a way that, with where we are, the core of talent we have, we're not being flippant about it that, hey, this will just happen forever. Obviously, we are doing all we can to keep one eye on the present and one eye on the future, and to be as good as we can be for as long as we can. But we are in a really special moment in time with the core group of players that we have. And our mindset is to be aggressive to kind of back that up and do everything we can to win a championship in 2026.
It looks from over here like all your dreams have come true, and possibly so. What percentage of your job is great joy, and what percentage is still suffering?
That is a great question. I think it's going to give some scary insight into my brain. But, people have said, oh, it must be easier with all the resources. When I was with the Rays, when I was now with the Dodgers, the day to day is no different. Whatever you're given, whatever rules you're operating in, whatever payroll budget you have, the players you have, and trying to do everything you can to make them the best versions of themselves, all of that is the exact same. And winning the last game of the season, uh, you know, uh, just to give you some insight, my first year as GM was 2006 with the Devil Rays. Knew we were terrible. We finished with the worst record in baseball. And at the end of that year, Terry Ryan, the longtime GM of the Minnesota Twins, steps down. And he said, I had just gotten to a point where the losses were killing me and the wins weren't really gratifying. They weren't as fulfilling. And I was like, man, I am in trouble. This was my first year. I knew we were going to lose 100 games, and I'm already there. So just to give you some insight into how
Oh, but
my
that bums me out though, because it sounds like you would have trouble enjoying this. Like, it's the whole Pat Riley thing of there's winning and there's misery. Until you win, there's not joy, and the daily grind is a suffering. And so the answer to my question is what on percentages? How much joy? How much suffering?
I mean, so much of it falls out of what's going on. So, I mean, I've gotten good at enjoying after the 24 World Series. I mean, I'd say, look, every step along the way, when we win the division or clinch a playoff spot, we have fun that night. And it's, I think, important to go have fun and exhale and blow it out a little bit and celebrate each of those milestones along the way. And after the 24 season, after the 25 season, really good times. The problem is 3 days later, you still smell like alcohol and you're on your way to the GM meetings and it's time to focus on the next season. So this job is, I joke about the ebbs and the flows. I haven't really found the ebbs. There's just enough going on where it's hard to soak in it too much. But I've definitely gotten better at enjoying the good things, but a little tortured soul in that in some ways.
What are the parts of the job that nobody could possibly understand?
Um, I mean, it's such a public job. I think part of it is just nonstop. Um, just the number of challenges, issues, just with the vast, the size of our organization, the number of players. It's just nonstop the number of things that are going on. Some are small, some are big, and it is just relentless on a daily basis.
Joe Madden said of you, he intentionally challenged people's ideas to create a conversation. How do you do that? When do you do that? Is that purposeful part of your leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I believe so strongly in collaboration. And if I am really mired in something, um, I really value having outside perspective of someone who's less mired in it. And sometimes it's, oh yeah, you're just missing this context. That's not right. Or sometimes it's, wow, you're right. I'm so mired in it. I missed it. So I believe very much in collaboration. That being said, if we're always agreeing, then I'm scared. And so we'll be in meetings and it'll be like, hey, who agrees with this? And if everyone's like, yeah, I'm like, all right, hold on. Let's check ourselves. Let's do kind of a pre-mortem of how this could go wrong, because that's when it scares me. I like when we have disagreement and arguments and can get at different angles of a decision to make the best decision we can with the information we have. And when we are disagreeing is when I feel best about how we're proceeding.
Who's the player most likely to check you?
Kirsch was for sure. Uh, Actually said it to him. We're trying to get him to come work with us. And just the number of times he would say something to me and be like, hey, why are we doing this? Or have you thought about this? The number of times I'm like, yeah, that's a really good point. And he wasn't afraid to do it, and I welcomed it, and it was great. And so now we're trying to use that as leverage to get him to come join us.
What is something you can tell us about Shohei Ohtani that would explain to the layman the modern day Babe Ruth skill set that you've never seen before?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to say I've never seen it before because I would argue he is the greatest player who's ever played this game. I think in some crazy ways he's actually underrated. Um, just the human brain has a hard time comprehending this, but I think his work ethic, the determination, the focus, the relentless pursuit of being great at not just hitting but also pitching and all that that entails, it's incredibly impressive. And it's funny, after we won in New York in 24, celebrating after, he's like, all right, 9 more. I was like, Shohei, it's not that easy. Then after last year celebrating, he's like, all right, 8 more. I'm like, Shohei, it's not that easy, but I hope we continue to have that conversation.
Can you tell me what level of your life before baseball, analyst for 2 years with Bear Stearns and Company, an investment firm, 3 years as an associate for a private equity firm. Did you take any of those things over to baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, just getting out of college and working 80 to 100-hour weeks helped prepare me in some ways for just how to kind of manage a lot of different things. But I think the biggest thing was, in those jobs, information is king, and having as much information as you possibly can, and the art of how to distill that down for decision making, for presenting to other people. Those were things that I spent a lot of time doing and thinking about that I think serves me on a daily basis now.
How often is your wife noticing that you're thinking about baseball instead of at home like you're supposed to be?
uh, um, I think I've gotten better, so I'm going to give myself, some like most improved player award, uh, but probably not great.
I mean, I just imagine that it's a little bit, maybe it's not overwhelming to you, but I'm guessing that running that entire thing means that all the problems end up on your desk and that nobody sees that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And so being a champion is hard, but worth it. Correct? Like you've poured
sure.
you've poured yourself into this. It would feel less worth it though, right? If the Rays had beaten you, as I thought they could have, should have, and deserved to.
The Jays.
The Jays, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think a couple of things. One, the joy that we get from winning is incredible. The parade, the energy is unlike anything I've ever felt before. And it is incredible. Now, we also appreciate that the playoffs are hard at baseball, and being really talented is really helpful, but you also need some good fortune. And so last year we definitely benefited from some good fortune. In years past, we've been on the other side of that. And so there is a large role that fortune kind of plays in it. And so with that, it's hard to have all of the joy tied to just that one outcome. But for me, it's who we do it with on a daily basis, the amount of time that goes into it. I mean, we're here in spring training, be here for, close to 6 weeks, away from our families, and just the challenges that come with that. And just the joy that I derive from the people that I do it with and the successes that we have are something that I think really does stick with me, and where I get a lot of fulfillment in my job.
Can you put us next to you during the World Series at the moment that you're the most scared that you're going to lose it?
There are so many moments in that. So I've always said my whole career, there is no way I could do a game 7 extra innings. Like, I'm just not wired to handle that. And it turns out you just do it. But the number of times I had to go take steps back and just remember to breathe. Like, hey, dummy, take breaths. Yeah, I mean, that ball off the bat from Clement, when Andy posterized Kike off the bat, I did not feel great about that. The Miggy Rowe backhand throw to home, I actually felt good about that one, even as it went to replay. The 3-0 changeup, Vladdy off Snell, 3-0 changeup, and Vladdy hits a fly ball to center off the bat. I thought he got it, so that wasn't a great feeling. So there were so many in that game, which is what makes it, such an incredible game, such an incredible series. That perspective kind of gets lost on you as you are kind of mired in it, but continue to hear it every day, all day, from fans and different people of, just how impactful and incredible that series was.
This is a difficult question to ask you, but would one title with the Rays have meant as much to you as 3 with the Dodgers?
I don't know how to do any kind of conversion on them, but obviously the success we had with the Rays, winning the East. I remember a quote that Larry Lucchino had. He was talking about the Red Sox as being the little engine that could, compared to the Yankees. I was like, man, if you guys are the little engine that could, I don't even know what that makes us. So just going up against the Red Sox and Yankees and those resources and the disparity, and winning the division and having the success we had was incredibly gratifying. And I think winning there, winning divisions, definitely is more impactful than winning a division here. I think winning a World Series anywhere is as special as it gets.
Well, speaking of the Rays days, you know Peter Bendix very well, and he's trying to do in Miami right now with a low player payroll what seemed to work in Tampa. Can you put into words the challenge he has taken on trying to do what he's doing with that payroll in a division with the Phillies, Braves, and Mets?
You've known him since he was in his early 20s, correct?
Yeah, as an intern with the Rays, he is really, really bright, really talented. And I think what should inspire confidence in people in Miami is he's not afraid. And I think there are a lot of people who are in this job who are afraid. They're looking to, preserve their job. Peter is really bright. He's really bold. And he appreciates that in that division and with their resources, you have to be. If you're doing things the exact same way as the Phillies, the Mets, the Braves, you have no chance. And it was similar to how we were with the Rays. We had to operate very differently than the Yankees and Red Sox. And I think Peter is not afraid to do that. I think sometimes it's unconventional. I think sometimes you're throwing, a little bit of the spotlight on yourself in a way that could make some people uncomfortable, makes you get second guess more. But he's not afraid, and I think he is doing what he feels like is right for that organization. And I would certainly bet on him.
Thank you. We appreciate the time. Congratulations on the success. Congratulations on ruining baseball as well. I do have one more extreme question for you as we let you go, though. Can you now tell us the story of one time with the Rays where you were looking at whatever the Red Sox were doing, the Yankees were doing, compared to something that you were doing, and you're like, come on, why do I have to deal with such small time circumstances here?
I don't know. I mean, I think, the Yankees did a really good job, and it all is a matter of perspective, but, we had to be really aggressive to try to innovate and to think about things differently and approach things differently. And I think the Yankees would kind of sit back and say, okay, what's working for the Rays, what's not working, and then, or for any other team, and then say, okay, we're going to copy that now, but we're not going to invest the front end time to do it. And so we would go through the trials and errors and things that would work, things that wouldn't work. And those teams were just able to kind of sit back and pick that off. But obviously, Major League free agency, the way that things are structured, is not only a great thing. There are disadvantages that come with it in terms of term and contracts and how that can tie up future flexibility. And so when I was with the Rays, watching the Red Sox and Yankees do some of those deals, those were good in terms of our future outlook. And so trying to, stay true to who we were and find the right opportunities to try to surpass them. But yeah, I mean, they operate so differently than us that I think it's almost on a daily basis. But that was kind of a macro, kind of take on our viewpoint on them at the time.
Thank you, Andrew. I don't think people understand how hard it is to do what you do, even with all of the money in the world. We appreciate it, sir.
Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.